Hello, yes. We're at it again, and this time I've got almost a stalwart, a bit like Betty, really, of my Marc and Chums programme. And it is a lovely guy who, you all know, I used to be his agent. I cast him in many things. He's not an up-and-coming, and he's not a been there, seen that, done that either, because he's very good at what his job, and I still believe in him these days after all this time. I still haven't got my 10%, but there we are, that's another story. So, this little situation we're in now, we're in a nice new location, just for a change, and it's beautiful sunshine. We're in Eastbourne, beautiful Eastbourne, and what we're going to do on this occasion, it's going to be the nourishment of nostalgia. And my guest today, and this is the third one I think he's done, is my dear chum, late client, and jolly good egg, and a remarkable Kenneth Williams impersonator. Yes, it's Stewart Barham.
Hello, darling.
Last time we were doing this, we were sitting in your back garden.
Oh, it was really sunny and warm, yeah.
And we were sitting there having a light, and it's sunny and warm now.
Yes, you know what? It's the way we are, isn't it?
Because normally you would be in your garden on a day like this, with your boobs out.
Well, you know.
And just having a nice taking it all in with the Peroni in hand.
Yes, it would be definitely there in my hand.
And today you've been very kind today to come and do this specially, because he's already today, would you believe, done a gig. If you can, well, he's not doing that, he's not on a street corner with his guitar. He's done a gig. You did. Tell us what you were doing today to get here so quickly.
I was doing a corporate video for a company. They wanted actors to read the testimonials, but they wanted the actors to read them obviously in a way that sounded not actorish but real. So that was
because you know I don't say that I taught you that, but I think the fact is, one thing you must know out there, if you're going to be acting something as a testimonial or a vox pop type thing, to be absolutely certain that it's real, you can't act it. You really got to be quite normal and lovely and like that. And did you find that difficult?
It's a gear change, because obviously there were moments initially when I was reading it and I learnt it. So of course he said, the director, he said, brilliant, too much acting. It sounds like
bring it down.
Yeah.
Bring it down.
And also maybe soften the edges so it looks like I'm almost reaching for the words. But it's difficult. My training is like to learn. Yeah,
it's a hard technique. Apparently I'm quite good, even on auto cue, I'm quite good at it because it sounds like I'm really reading it. But as for learning the lines, sod that for a laugh, because my retention's terrible. Isn't it, Stephen?
Yep.
That's the director, he's nodding the shoes. Right, now today's programme is, when we were at your lovely back garden in Port Salame.
Porta Salade.
Port Salami, I call it.
Port Salami.
Very posh. He's just been up a ladder painting his kitchen a sage green.
Yeah. Is it sage green? I'm colourblind, I have no idea, but you know.
It's sage green.
Is it sage green? Okay.
Yeah. Don't know why you had to do it. Yeah, but there we are. We were saying afterwards when we were having a drink, and I think Stephen was discussing with you your show reel and how you wanted to put it together, and you did a lovely job, Stephen.
He did a wonderful job on the show reel, yes.
He loves editing, don't you, Stephen?
He gets lots of that way.
He's
lots of
again.
interest.
We were talking about our great passion between us of the more nostalgic elements of television rather than the absolute load of that is on these days. Or some of it is not. Some of it's very good.
But there's not much of it that's very good.
And there's not much of it. And of course these days, a lot of it is not done in-house.
No.
It's all done by independent blue dogs.
That happened in the BBC,
Where before programming and all that went back, you know, and was done by major TV studios and intermingling with the big film studios.
Yes.
Like Elstree and that and ATV and so on. So, you were born when? What year was that?
1970.
And was born 10 years earlier.
20 years? No, 10 years, yeah, 10 years.
What's that? And of course then I've got 10 years on you of stuff that you wouldn't have known about because you weren't around.
I wasn't around.
But I suppose in the 70s up to 80s, a lot of the stuff that was on the box then was quite different to what I was brought up with Watch with Mother and all that stuff, the wooden tops and Twizzle that terrified the life out of me.
I don't remember that.
Fireball XL5, and of course you must have heard of Thunderbird.
Oh yeah, yeah, they're very wooden, those actors, weren't they?
You know, all that stuff, very wooden. I think I found they were made of some sort of reformed plastic.
Reformed plastic resin.
Yeah, probably, I don't know. I've got lots of friends that worked with Jerry Henderson, and I'll have to ask them because I don't know. Or Doctor Who.
But I love his work, yeah.
Yeah.
And Doctor Who.
And then we're celebrating this year. Well, she was in one Doctor Who.
She was in one Doctor Who, yeah.
Yeah.
The two Doctors.
The two Doctors.
Yeah.
Who was in that then?
Colin Baker, Nicola Bryant, Fraser Hines,
and
Patrick Troughton.
Patrick Troughton.
My favourite Doctor Who.
Yeah. But you weren't even born when he was on.
No, I was born the year after he'd finished. But I love his Doctor and I've watched a lot of his stuff since then.
And unfortunately the majority had been wiped, hadn't it?
The first,
although they're finding it now.
The first Troughton I saw was repeat season in '81. Remember JMT, the producer at the time.
You saw the Crotons.
Yeah, the Crotons, because Tom Baker
returned into the dinosaurs.
Yes.
Love it. Was camp as anything.
Wasn't it? Fraser Hines looked rather nice in that, I thought.
Fraser's a chum of mine, as you all know. I think he'll be very flattered, but I think he backs the other team, sweetie. But there we are.
Oh, wow.
And loves horses. We used to own a horse together.
Oh, did you?
For a brief moment.
What was his name? Her name?
It was a he, and the name of the horse, you'll never guess what it was.
Trigger?
No.
No.
It was Jamie McCrimmon.
Oh.
Who's Jamie McCrimmon?
That's Fraser Hines' character in Doctor Who.
That was Fraser Hines' character in Doctor Who. There's some very, very, like that, dendrites and axons. Yeah. So you got Cerberlan on there. Yeah. That comes from what show was that from?
That was Blake 7.
And that was a bit later.
That was kind of 78 to 81. That was the BBC's answer for more hard-hitting sci-fi, edgier, more violent.
And you must be Zen.
Affirmative.
So tell me, Zen, how does one operate this craft?
One manipulates the controls and the craft functions accordingly.
Yes, Zen, I've heard of your impudence.
Created by?
Terry Nation.
And what else did Terry Nation create?
Cadbury's Cream Eggs. No, the Daleks.
The Daleks. Yes, absolutely. And he lived down the road from me, near Feversham.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah. I went to his place once for tea.
Quite a big house.
You know, when he told me he was thinking of bringing the Daleks into Blake 7, I went, oh, really?
I think
never happened.
No,
then they moved to Los Angeles.
They almost did. The end of the second series, it's going to be the Daleks that, invaded our universe.
But Jacqueline Pearce was marvellous, wasn't she? Cerberlan.
I met Jacqueline.
Full power, so did I.
She was lovely.
In a pub.
Oh, I met her in the Marlborough, in Brighton. She was doing a play there.
Oh, was she?
And she was just fabulous, and she was just elegant, and she was
elegant. It was what I call elegant camp.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I saw we met because just recently one of the oldest drag queen in the United Kingdom recently, as you know, passed away. Wonderful Maisie Trollope, the Trollettes with Jimmy Trollope, who's still with us, and David Raven, who was Maisie, died. And the Trollettes in their heyday used to do their cabaret show in places like the Union Tavern and the Vauxhall Tavern and all that. So you were mentioning Doctor Who, the two Doctors. We all went up to see, because they were going to do another panto with JNT, the producer of Doctor Who, also produced these pantomimes, and went up, and the whole cast, apart from Patrick Troughton, which was, here we go, a shame, were there from the two Doctors watching the show. and I met Jacqueline Pearce coming out of the gents' toilets. Well, she wasn't. I was coming out of the gents' toilet. She was coming out of the ladies.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we sat down with J&T and all that, and that was a wonderful 4 hours. You know, the Trollocs getting them all up on. Jacqueline got up the whole lot. But of course, Jacqueline Pearce, I don't know if you know, was one of the stalwart ladies in the Hammer film production.
She was, yeah.
Back in the day. Yeah. Plague of Zombies, for one.
Oh, I saw that recently, yeah. Very good. And she was in a Carry On. I think she was in Carry On, Don't Lose Your Head.
More than likely, because, you know, because she had a burgeoning film career, but she went back to stage and stuff like that.
She had that wonderful voice, quite husky, wasn't it? And she was
very sexy.
Yeah, she was. She was a bit of a sex symbol in Blake 7. Yeah. Yeah. She was basically the queen of the universe. You know,
of the Federation
like yourself.
Part of the universe.
You know.
Yeah. It was. Come on! It was really done on the cheap.
Oh, this was at the time the BBC were, you know, they were doing all their stuff in-house, but of course...
Well, yeah, Matt Urban, was the special effects designer.
But you know what, I think they did wonderful things. I think they, you know, most of the time got away with the effects, and I think the effects were very good. And
unlike today, because Doctor Who's just started its second season, you look at that, and I can't, you know, I look at it, and it's all very pretty, but it's
like an Easter egg. It's very pretty, but... packaging, you go inside it, it's like much going on.
You know, and then you find out when they do the Doctor Who Unleashed afterwards, it's all on green screen, and they're only acting to each other, and sometimes just saying, "Oh, that set's fabulous," and there wasn't a set there at all. Unlike the old days, which you can go back to anything like Crossroads, things like that. All these were made in house. I mean, my first memory, I think, that scared me to death was Twizzle, which was another Jerry Anderson thing, where there's puppets, hands and arms.
It sounds terrifying.
And at the toy hospital, it scared the living daylights out of me as a kid. But of course, he went on to do many other things, which were not so much kids stuff, but a bit more adult, like UFO. All that sort of business. But I mean, my favourite of all time, you know, forget Doctor Who, you know, that's been with me for years and years and years. My favourite at the time that I constantly saw and was always repeated in the summer was in the 60s and was still being repeated, would you believe, in the summer, in the 70s, but you probably wouldn't have been interested, was The Adventures of Robinson Crusoe.
Never saw that.
With Robert Hoffman playing Robinson Crusoe, who for me has to be one of the most delicious, wonderful German gentlemen you've ever seen, and most of the time he had his top off.
Oh.
If there were any survivors of the shipwreck, they would answer me. If there were any inhabitants in this country, they would show themselves. How long will I have to go on walking to find other human beings?
I might have to look that up then.
It's a really good. It was a German-French production, and then it was translated with most of it as narration. And the original version, the music was terrible, but they redid the music for the English version. You know, no, 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 that one, and it is just beautiful. So that's my real big memory of those days, and things like Cracker Jack, Blue Peter.
Yeah, well they're long running, or they were. I mean, I think even Blue Peter's finished just recently.
It's gone digital. It's gone on to.
But, yeah, I mean.
Catch up only.
Blue Peter. What was it? Valerie Singleton, John Noakes, Peter Purvis.
No time of mine, Peter Purvis.
Oh yeah. Goodness.
I'm always he's sending pictures of his dogs to me, and I'm saying his garden, he lives.
I sent him a picture of my blossom tree.
I know, did you see that?
Yeah.
He's the type of man, he phones up occasionally, he says, "How's your lad?"
Yeah.
And I said, "My lad's fine, how's your lot?"
Yeah.
I mean, his place is like Crufts.
Well, of course it should be, couldn't it?
And he still does Stephen Taylor, because he was in Doctor Who as well, Poor Blue Peter, in the audio stuff, listen. And he's a really good chap, a really nice chap to know, I tell you. Yes, I saw your blossom, very nice.
Thank you.
Isn't it amazing when people, you know, have you got any blossom?
No.
Get the wind up, all your cherry blossom will come off.
Love it. It doesn't last, unfortunately. It turns to
You've got
apples.
to take it at that moment, haven't
But
you?
yeah, that's spring. It's just finite. And
So
lovely.
what's your first memory then of what you consider you went, yeah, that was...
I used to love Mary Mungo and Midge.
Oh yeah.
I loved it, and even now I've got it on DVD, and it just makes me feel all nostalgic because I remember it like it was
And
yesterday.
he's knocking 50.
Knocking.
Mary, Mungo, and Midge live in this town. They live with Mary's mother and father in this tall block of flats. They live right at the top. There are 8 flats built on top of each other. Mary, Mungo, and Midge live in the flat with the flowers growing in the window box. There's Mary. There's Mungo. And there's Midge.
It was Star Wars in '77 that got me really into sci-fi and stuff. So I watched that. The you know, the American imports that ITV used to get, like the Incredible
Well, they
Hulk.
only bought those in to try and get, you know, I mean, they bought Star Trek in quite quickly.
Loved Star Trek, still do.
And what they used to do is they would start with, these are the voyage of the Starship Enterprise, to then put the other bit after the titles, when it was first transmitted in the BBC. And of course it was all in colour. Not many people in those days had colour telly.
No.
We did.
Yeah.
But I was at boarding school with a very old 405 line black and white set,
My goodness.
watching Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Yeah, well, I suppose that, Play School went on for years and years
Yes,
and
it
years.
did. It became Play Bus in the end, but Play School was great. I loved. I remember Play School.
A house with a door. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ready to play? What's the day? It's Thursday.
Muffin the Mule. There was a shake of a head there.
I don't
The only
know.
reason I can remember Muffin the Mule is because it was Annette Mills, who was the sister of Sir John Mills,
Yes.
who was the lady who had piano with Muffin, which was a huge success in the 50s and all that. Long gone now.
It must have been an exciting period because it was all new. Nothing had been done before,
Well,
so
yeah,
everything was
yeah.
brand new.
Well, the BBC really took the bull by the horns by doing things like 1984, the Quatermass series, and all that stuff, you know, which really these, and strangely I think still stands up very well. And you can look at programmes, well-known programmes that have already been mentioned, you can see where they've nicked that from. You go, oh, well, that is exactly the same plot as what happened in a Nigel Neal production.
This is why I like watching 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s television.
Because you're seeing the original.
It's just feels fresh, even though obviously I've seen them before and obviously they've been often repeated with new shows and stuff. You know you're watching it in context of this. Can you imagine when Doctor Who first started? People must have thought, oh my God, how freaky is this and wonderful. You know, and we've still got that. But you know, I remember Quatermass. Well, I don't remember it. I've watched them since.
Yeah.
I used to love the Tomorrow People in the 70s. I used to like that.
Well, talking of tomorrow, we're going to have a little jaunt now because we'll be back in a minute. Well, of course, yes, the Tomorrow People was another, that was, I think it was a Thames television production, and I had a couple of friends in it, still with us. Unfortunately, one of the guys in it, who had a sort of basin haircut, blonde, I can't remember his name, Paul I think his name was, he committed suicide.
Did he play the Traveller Boy?
I don't remember which one, but it was early on. Nicholas Young was the head of
Peter
it.
Vaughan Clark.
Peter Vaughan Clark,
Right.
Peter Vaughan Clark, yes.
BBC.
Yeah, was it BBC?
BBC, Peter Vaughan Clark.
I thought it said BBC.
No. But you know what, he was great in that because he was the one that came through in the first episode, so it was kind of pretty much focused on him, wasn't it?
Like an early crush.
Yeah, he was
I had
quite
a few
sweet.
early crushes. All that stuff that came out of ATV, you know, was done purely for the American market. You know, like the original Avengers, the TV series, not the new that's on now,
I love the Avengers.
was actually studio based.
Yeah.
405/625 line television, black and white.
Black and white.
And of course, when dear Ola Blackman left as Kathy Gale, Ian Hendry was the John Steed wasn't the boss in it.
No, he wasn't.
It was Ian Hendry,
yeah.
who was he left to go and carry on with his film career. So Patrick McNee he stayed on, and then Emma Peel came in.
Succession of beautiful ladies.
Emma Peel,
Tara King,
and then of course it went on to
New Avengers.
The New Avengers too.
I love the Avengers.
The New Avengers I wasn't as keen on, although my dear friend who was the script supervisor on Quatermass Experiment, the film version back in the 50s, was the script supervisor on the 2 series of the New Avengers.
Albert Fennell? Not Fennell. No, what's his name?
Albert?
What was his name? What was your friend's name?
Rennie Glynn. It was a lady. Died. You know, it's 3 years ago since she died.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. She was 94, dear.
Oh, that's a good age.
Went up to bed, then woke up. That's the way to do it. But of course, the other things that I've just heard, you know, when we've been chatting on the phone, is a lot of these programmes that were produced by ATV or the International Television Company, ITC, you have never seen, and you're catching up with them now. You know, these include not just the Avengers, it's things like Department S. Jason King, it's all that sort of thing, Randall Hopkirk Deceased.
Oh, I watched Randall Hopkirk recently, really loved it. Quirky programme.
Far better than the remake.
Oh, I never saw the remake. I'm watching The Champions at the moment.
And The Champions with who you've got a crush on?
Stewart Barham.
Alexandra Basquido, and she used to live in Brighton, no longer with us. The only one from that team that's still alive is William Gaunt.
William Gaunt, yeah.
Who also was in Doctor Who.
He was in Doctor Who in the Colin Baker era.
Yeah.
They've all been in it.
Yeah, and written by a friend of mine, Eric Saywood, and it had quite a few deaths in that one as well.
That was a bloodbath.
Yeah, they're all bloodbath. Only Eric Saywood's script is a bloodbath. Absolutely.
Yeah.
How they got it past... Because it was a much earlier transmission. It's now like 7:15 in the evening these days, and in those days, it sometimes was like 5 o'clock.
Resurrection of the Daleks was terrifying. There's one bit, this guy turns around and his face is literally melting off. And it's like, this is tea-time viewing. It's terrifying.
Well, yeah, melting away, and I can tell you who did that visual effect.
Matt?
No,
it would have been makeup, wouldn't it, I guess?
No, it was my friend Stephen Mansfield and Susan Moore, and Stephen is now the head of sculpture at Madame Tussauds in London. And he went on to do lots of things, you know, like that thing in Battlefield, that great big monster thing.
The Destroyer.
The Destroyer.
Which is a shame we didn't see that much on screen. It's like, should have been
the
there.
amount of work that went into it.
Yeah, we should have had it in every episode.
Yeah, well, yes, you know, it's a good one. You should bring it back. You know, bring it back. Yeah, the Champions I did like. They were ordinary humans that get in a plane crash in Tibet, and they go through this sort of process, and then they're released back to Geneva.
Metaphysical.
You know, Geneva with the Geneva Geezer thing,
Anthony,
with what's his
Anthony
name who played?
Jermaine?
No, Jermaine. It wasn't Anthony Newley.
Anthony
something like that.
Yeah.
I can picture him now.
Yeah.
And of course, every time they had, you know, they went into this sort of business, and I can't do the noise. I couldn't wait for the noise. You know, when they had this sort of
telepathic communication.
No. How do you think they did that then?
Telepathy. You want me to explain telepathy?
Not particularly, but why did it suit this particular program? Because it was unlike. It was very unlike.
Well, this is like
other ones of that.
This is late
area.
60s. I mean, you know, lots of flower power and people going spiritual. I think they probably wanted to have these people that have just got these kind of vibes where they can communicate. It's all to do with the mind and stuff like that. They were kind of super beings, weren't they? But it was all quite subtle. I'm only 5 episodes in at the moment.
Oh.
Loving it.
I think they made 26.
30.
Oh, 30. You see, it used to be 30, then it came down to 26 to 26.
Which appeals to a foreign American market.
Yeah, that's why I was like the Avengers.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I loved all those other things. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Land of the Giants.
Yeah. Long
I
series.
mean, one of my favourites were in the 60s was Lost in Space.
I've seen the first series before it went colour.
Yeah, as it gets on, one person who understand was Dr. Zachary Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Who just,
He was a bit too much.
It just went into complete
Camp overload.
cartoon overload.
Well, I was a big fan of Batman, you know, the Adam West series. So
that was nothing like the Dark Knight as it was. It was as camp as a row of tents. Cost a fortune to make, by the way.
But it looks so great. I love it. I love the camera angles. You know, when it's villains, it's like the meaning.
Splat.
Yeah, and all that. I grew up there. I loved it.
And of course, one of my other feelings of affection was lovely Burt Ward, who's also a chum of mine, only on Facebook, and his lovely wife Trudy, because they rescue big dogs.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, and he's a lovely guy, really. He doesn't look like Robin anymore.
No. We share a birthday, though.
Do you really?
6th of July, yeah.
No, they really do a lot of work. I mean, what did she tell me? It was a year or so. She said, about 500 dogs in the last few years they've been able to rescue and rehome and all that.
Great.
Nothing ever gets put down.
Batman would be proud.
Batman, yeah, dear old Adam West. Oh, God, rest your soul.
I'm glad he's doing well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, after that, it got into serious stuff, didn't it? You know, for British transmission, you know, you then went on to this esoteric stuff like Sapphire and Steel.
Oh, I love that. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah. Terrifying, that was. Terrifying.
You know, Children of the Stone.
Yeah. The Stone Tape.
Oh, that really would put the willies up me, I tell you, and I was much older then, you know.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, you know, it got with Star Wars coming on, it all got a bit
more glitzy and tinselous.
Tinsy and all that, and of course the Americans tried to, you know, emulate it all. But a lot of the nostalgic stuff for me, favourites of mine are in the 70s. Like your I, Claudius, like Naked Civil Servant.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
I even really did enjoy Crossroads because I was forced to watch it. It was just before the news.
Yeah,
and the
it takes you back.
Yeah, the only thing that else was on was the Magic Roundabout. I'd sort of grown out of that.
3 channels. That's all we had. 3 channels.
Yeah. I mean, look at but there were good 3 channels because you got some good stuff. These days,
there's a lot more good stuff.
And you look at
more doesn't necessarily mean better.
Yeah. What else is your favourite from that sort of era then? Let's hop to the 80s, when you're a bit more grown up.
Jump through to the 80s. I mean, by that point, I was an actual proper Doctor Who fan, you know, buying all the stuff, going to conventions, meeting the stars and stuff, and just, you know, just absolutely being a besotted fan of the show. By the mid-80s, Star Trek came back in the form of The Next Generation. I was heavily into that.
I quite enjoyed The Next Generation.
Oh, it's great.
You know, I liked the campness of the original one because it was very colourful. And you notice there's a differentiation between the colour register on some of the 35mm film that was being used back in the 60s and 70s. It sort of changed.
Videotape.
You know, but not just that, but the film grading changed. All that bright sort of Technicolor stuff went,
and
it all became a little bit more dull.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
Because I like that colour. I like that whatever they did, whatever process they used, that colour is
It was
just
Eastman colour.
Eastman colour. Then all that,
Yeah.
the early James Bond films and all that. I love it.
Have that richness.
Yeah, I love it. It's just takes you. Well,
Yeah,
it takes you back
well,
to a time.
Eastman colour is based on Technicolor, so it was the same process. Although Technicolor used 3 strips of film, and Eastman colour was able to put the whole lot together to make it like it was.
Sure.
But of course, it all went very, you know.
Yeah.
You could see it, James. I remember I went to see Quantum of Solace. Don't bother.
Not
And
one of his
it
best.
was like watching a pastel.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it was awful.
Yeah, who sacked the colourist, the colour grading person, because it was like
Yeah.
I prefer the old Bond films. I'm just an old relic. I'm getting that way. You know.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in the 80s, they had so many other bits and pieces. I mean, I was more, shall we say, out in the world in my 20s, so I didn't see as much television
Oh yeah.
as, you know what I mean.
You tend to lose touch with it.
You lose touch with it.
You're growing up and you're discovering
And you know,
life.
you know, I was doing all the things one shouldn't do.
Well, that's what
in more
life's
ways
all
than
about,
one.
surely.
You know, now because I was at the BBC a lot and I was doing this, that and the other, and a bit of the old, this sort of business and all that, I was teaching and all that. But at the end of the day, you sort of came away for it. I mean, I do remember things like Loves and Lives of a She-Devil, Duchess of Duke Street. My favourite show of the 70s, drama-wise, was Upstairs, Downstairs.
Jean Marsh.
Who just recently died a
bless
couple
her.
of days ago at the age of 92.
Lovely
And she
lady.
was a lovely, and she was in Who, and she was married to John Pertwee. 5 years.
I worked with Jean Marsh in the docudrama An Adventure in Space and Time.
Mm.
Jean Marsh was there on the day, along with Annika Wills, who played
Polly.
And I think William Russell was there.
Who played Ian.
And I had the most amazing day. Jean Marsh was lovely. She was really sweet. Down to earth.
Everyone that worked with her, and I've got lots of, you know, as you have, you know, quite a few, shall we say, well-known people, but they don't go on about it. And they always said what a delight she was to work with. And as you tell them the story about when you were working on Adventure in Time and Space with her. What was her attitude to you?
She's very friendly. I mean, I think she was revelling in the just magic of being in the show and still being remembered all those years later. I was revelling in the fact that I'm a fan and I'm on the set of the TARDIS and meeting the writer Mark Gatiss and meeting the other stars of the show and just enjoying the day. I mean, I didn't want paying. They did pay me, but I would have done it for nothing.
Yeah, 260 yard all in.
Yeah, they paid me in shillings, just like in the old days.
They were doing. It was at 1963 prices.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
They got me cheap.
Yeah. Well, I'll be all dear.
Well, you know, speak for yourself.
Oh, that's a lovely memory, though. And in fact, it was going to be done previous to the Gatiss version. It was going to be done about 15 years previous by my chum, who Kevin, who had put together a synopsis to do a similar show on the, you know, but it didn't happen, which is a shame. But I was very pleased with that.
It was really good.
It, you know, really sort of kept to the. There was a few fanciful moments.
Oh
in it,
yeah,
you know.
artistic license, you know.
And what's the guy called? Who played the Doctor? William Hartnell.
Bradley, not Bradley Walsh. Something Bradley.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Really heavy.
Oh, he was great.
Yeah.
Because in that he was playing William Hartnell, who was playing the Doctor, and then of course they brought him into the show to play the Doctor, to play the first Doctor.
Yeah.
And I thought he was great. Alan Bradley. Oh no, he was in Coronation Street, wasn't he?
He was in Coronation.
He got run down by.
I never really liked Coronation Street.
No.
I loved me Upstairs, Downstairs, and then the Crossroads.
never really got
I mean, Upstairs, Downstairs with their wobbly sets was a sort of posh version of
Crossroads Motel. Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. Dear old Nolly Gordon.
Crossroads Motel. You'd like to be booked in? 3 episodes, two dramatic cliffhangers, 1 death scene. I think I can book you in. Thank you.
You've seen the Nolly programme, which is very good.
Yeah,
very
Nolly
good.
was brilliant.
And that's Helen Bonham Carter playing Noel Gordon.
And Acorn Antiques, of course.
Oh, Acorn Antiques.
I love it.
Comedy, there's another thing.
Oh, don't even
All
start.
comedy changed in the 80s, didn't it?
Oh, well, you had your alternative comedy, which of course shook it up, I think, which it needed shaking up.
Because it really was slapstick vaudeville.
It was, and that was,
You
and
know,
I love
Terry
that.
and Jim.
Yeah, I love all that. But I think looking back, if I was a youngster, I was a youngster, but if I was that slightly older age, I would have been sort of like thinking, oh God, this comedy is so normal and, you know, boring and it's just, you know, civilised, and I want to see a bit more anarchy, and of course we got that.
We got that. Well, of course, you know, I mean, all those, the ones that we wouldn't be without these days, is Your Dad's Army of 40 Towers.
Oh, all the classics,
you know,
yeah.
All those, you know. But a lot, I was watching a programme the other night on the cancellation of Benny Hill, and I can see why he got cancelled, because none of it would stand. Well, one or two of it, none of it would stand up to date for transmission.
Yeah.
Also, Dick Emery.
I love Dick Emery.
I adore
You Are
him.
Awful,
Yeah.
But I Like You.
Well, hasn't he ever asked you to drop them? Well, if you did, he'd see a lot more of you.
You are awful. But I like you.
Well, you
Oh,
know.
hello, Honky Tonk.
How are you? Nice to see.
Nice to see.
You were at it again. Yeah.
You think we
We
can't
could be-
resist? That's something called All Kenneth.
Yeah, we do that
We
quite
always
often.
get there.
Yeah.
Kenneth always
Can you
comes
do it,
back
Kenneth, will you?
with his
Christ,
flared
with the-
nostrils.
Look at the way she flares her nostrils.
But yeah, I mean, comedy. I mean, I'm a big fan of Victoria Wood. I mean,
Oh, fantastic.
Love everything she did.
Even the straight stuff was
Oh,
brilliant. And
especially
as an
the
actress,
straight stuff, yeah.
doing straight stuff, she
Yeah.
was brilliant.
I mean, look at Dinner Ladies.
Went too young.
Oh,
Went
totally.
too young. Breast cancer.
All those people that died in 2016, she was the top of my list of the one that's like, no, sorry, I won't accept that. I can't accept that she died at 62.
But
So
the legacy, people like that, like your Steptoe Sons and all that, excellent run. I was never very keen on Hancock, I have to be honest.
It's
Never-
not my favourite era.
And things like Monty Python, some of it was hilarious,
Yeah.
but I look at some of these days and I say,
Yeah.
Christ, they were really scraping the barrel on that.
Oh, yeah, it's experimental though, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
You
but
could
of
say.
course that led to, you know,
The
things
Goodies.
like Python, you know, Goodies.
The Goodies,
I mean, that was
Goody,
really
yeah.
a kiddies thing.
I
wasn't
loved it.
I
It's
loved
like,
it
yeah,
too,
all
yeah.
these grown-up men being like animated cartoons almost. They were doing all these silly, crazy things.
I'll never forget that cat on the post office tower.
Yeah.
And now for the latest report on Twinkle, the giant kitten, over to Michael Aspel.
This is day 2 of Twinkle's occupation of the City of London.
The giant Dougal.
Yeah. And what was it, Ecky Thump?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, to
Or
watch those
going around
again.
hitting each other with black puddings, wasn't
You'd
it?
never get away with that now.
You
because
couldn't
they
do it
say
these
some
days. All
inciting
those other
violence.
Love Thy Neighbour, all that other stuff, you wouldn't be able to
Mind
see
Your
it now.
Language.
And you know when you see it on Mind Your Language, my chum Francois Pascal was in there, playing the French lady, was also in There's a Girl in My Soup with Peter Sellers. Beautiful looking woman.
There is a girl in my soup.
Yeah,
Don't
that
shout
it
too
was.
loud.
She was beautiful in that, but of course they won't show any of that stuff anymore.
No.
And even some of the stuff that hasn't got anything too much. I mean, they edit Carry On films.
Oh, yes.
All that, you still get this thing at
I
the
don't
start,
know
even
this.
on satellite broadcasts, where it's your choice
Yeah.
to see it. They always put this disclaimer on that reflecting the things of the past.
But don't you think people just like to be offended? They like to complain. They want other people to just have the same kind of restrictions that they have.
But everything
Yeah.
in comedy and whatever it is, you know, anything can be offensive. It depends on your upbringing, I suppose. But at the end of the day, I could look at something and all that. As long as, I've always said, as long as it doesn't show me animals getting hurt or anything to do with children that is out of there, even the news, I can't watch
no,
it.
I can't. I don't watch that. I don't watch the news anymore.
Anything on Facebook that people are showing you, you know, how cows are being slaughtered, and I don't want to see it. No, not the place for it.
No.
Make this a fun place of communication. That's lovely.
Yeah.
So, after that little bit of really quite serious conversation, don't you?
Serious
think?
for us.
Yes. We're going to be back in a minute. Stop laughing. Oh, darling, go and have a look at this because it's chock-a-block. And that's the only thing he said.
He's got a chock-a-block. I love that.
Chock-a-block.
I think he should be the new Dave Medner.
Oh, darling, thank you so much. Are we back?
Are we back, dear?
Oh, we got 2 Ednas for the price
hello
of
there.
one. Apparently I'm better at it than he.
He's great.
Imagine being done at parties and not even being there. Are you with me, darling? Call me old-fashioned.
Oh,
Right, yeah. Which brings us now rapidly from the 80s into the 90s. And of course, at that point, Dave Medner became a huge star. Although had started very much with Peter Cook and all that, and the establishment, all that back in the 60s and all that, and the 70s, but then really blossomed out to this megastar and all that. That sense of humour was bringing literally, you know, humour from what is really basically the Australian bush with Les Patterson and all that.
People have seen my Australian bush and loved it.
I have to be honest with you now, viewers. Can I call you that? Of course I can. I can say anything I like. You're not going to get any more of this. It's just going to be us two trying to outdo each other. You know what I mean? Right.
Come on. Back to reality.
Back to reality, darling.
Yeah.
I'd love to see your Madge.
No, I don't know how to do Madge.
We just have to sit there and say that.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Right,
She just
a
sits
bit
there.
like you are now.
Oh.
Yeah, so the whole thing from comedy and all that, even drama, imports from America. You had all this, your Dallases, you had all.
I was a big Dallas fan.
Yeah, you know, Dynasty, as they called it. Even Joan Collins to this day calls it Dynasty. I called it Dynasty.
Dysentery.
It's like colour. You know, with no U. But I did, Dallas. I remember when it got shot. That all then merged into, it went on and on and on, and you could never get, it was always on the telly.
Oh, yeah.
And these days, you don't get as many series. But certainly in the 90s, that's when it started to change.
It did, yeah. I mean, Dallas. I mean, goodness, that ran for about 13 years. Long seasons. I mean, now of course seasons have rapidly got shorter. Even in America, seasons now are like 10, or series, they call them series, 10 episodes rather than 26. With Star Trek, let's say Star Trek, you get, in the new series like Discovery and Strange New Worlds, you get 10, whereas in the past you used to get about 26.
Yeah, which is, half, 6 months.
Yeah, it's huge length of series.
The BBC, it used to be 13, which is quarter to be that. They would have the 4 seasons, they have 13 episodes.
But in the 90s we had no Doctor Who, did we? We had one episode, one new.
Yeah. And I went to the premiere of that.
Of course.
Well, it was second premiere. It was 2 shows, not premiere. Yeah, but it was, it was a showing before transmission.
But the BBC didn't seem to like sci-fi. It was almost like, okay, we can't do it. We can't afford it.
For that?
We can't afford to do it properly.
What was the reason for that?
Well, probably all the big buck Star Wars stuff.
No.
Michael Gray?
Michael Gray. He didn't like it. He hated Doctor Who.
He absolutely hated it with a passion.
He didn't like science fiction in general. But it's not down to the control of the BBC One or series and serials and all that stuff there. It's what the viewers like.
Yeah.
Don't don't try to process the viewers or blackmail them into watching something that you might think, it's going to be marvellous. Yes, it might have cost quite a bit to do. For me, a lot of the stuff, Doctor Who, it was always done on the cheap, Brexit, all that lot.
Yeah.
And even if you look at the original Star Trek and the ones after that, you think they're being paid thousands of dollars to do it. They're not. People on EastEnders. I've had so many friends on EastEnders, even the ones that have been around for a long time. And, when you're just starting out, you're going to be on equity minimum for television. You're not going to be on, you're not going to have a great big...
But I still think it was better, They weren't spending as much money on it, but I think even the later era of Doctor Who, right, we get to the Sylvester McCoy era, when the programme was being put opposite Coronation Street, clearly to kill it off. But again, looking at it, you've got complimentary entertainment, you've got people watching Coronation Street, you can watch Doctor Who. You can video it, because we used to video things in those days, we couldn't time shift it like you can now on your EE version or whatever.
I mean, I've always been fascinated these days, because the second series of, how do you pronounce it? Shakuti Doodah.
Shooty Gatwa?
This beautiful black guy.
Nice.
I'll tell you what, I'm divorcing my husband. And he's also... That's for my team. Sorry, our team. you know, it got very pretty and all that sort of business. You know, you can watch it, but I've never understood how you could. They put before broadcast transmission was at 7, whatever it was last Saturday. It was actually on iPlayer 8 a.m. in the morning. So I watched it at 8 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, you were an early bird watching the first episode.
Yeah, yeah. But then, how did that happen? Do you understand how the streaming works? You could just go in and there it is.
It's clever.
It's amazing. But back in the day, as you say,
if you missed
we only had VHS or Betamax.
Or you could record it, yeah.
Did you have VHS or Betamax?
Yeah. We got to the 80s.
VHS.
Yeah.
Video home services, wasn't it?
Well, we got to the 80s and you could obviously record stuff on one side and watch the other, but which seems very basic now, but of course now, as you say, you can stream a show that's not even going out to the masses yet.
Yeah, and of course, you know, they do 6 episodes of a mini-series. They put the first one out and the rest are already on.
Yeah,
you know.
But that's the thing, television habits have changed. I mean, you know, there's always people saying, oh, well, it's only pulling in such and such amount of viewers. Well, it's never going to pull in the amount of viewers live because obviously people do time shift it. You did.
Yeah. I still watched it on transmission only because I hadn't the pocket's idea what the hell was going on.
Oh, that's de rigueur with new Doctor Who.
Yeah. But I mean, these days, you know, anything that goes out. I mean, they put out a lot of things on television these days that are purportedly live, but of course there is quite a delay before the actual thing, just in case, like on the one show, occasionally one people can let slip a rudity.
You can't say that at 7 in the morning. It was hilarious. It was
absolutely. Well, there's that outtake. I mean, the only reason I ever watched GB News was the fact that my chum chap was an outside journalist reporter for the dreadful right-wing channel. And I remember Eamon Holmes, who used to be, you know, breakfast time, all that sort of thing. He's now on the early show. And of course he's sitting there trying to get his earpiece in, and he didn't know he was in Vision, and they were live, and he said, oh, how the hell am I going to get home? And of course she starts going straight to camera like that, and he said, oh, but I wish they'd told me.
Cool and calm, good old Eamon.
Well, yeah.
You know,
but he's very right-wing. They're all right-wing. Oh, yeah. You know, but you know, all those other shows that we had as kids, like, you know, you mentioned Blue Peter and all that, but all you had, Saturday Superstore, you had the multicoloured swap shop.
Oh, yeah.
That all seems to have dissipated into the ether. You know, you didn't have all that camaraderie on early morning television for kids
I loved it.
You know, these days, the 90s and even into this century, it's all got very, you know, we've got more channels.
Yeah. But of course, a lot of people now don't sit around watching television. They go off and they watch things on their gadgets, their iPods, whatever. iPads. You know, basically television is now just on the go, or, you know, in your own bedroom or whatever. You know, it's not like everyone gathering around the idiot's lantern, as they used to call it.
The idiot's lantern,
to watch telly. And of course, you know, up until
on a 14-inch console.
Yeah, I remember the first TV we had. It was like tiny, but you know, it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, but the other thing is, you remember that an awful lot of those, you know, like at the coronation of the late Queen. You know, they had these televisions with really that size, 405 line television with really bad reception, valve driven, having to bang the thing to get it working and all that. And there'd be 30 people round in somebody's front room, like this.
I know, that's madness.
You know.
And now, of course, you can fill the entire room with a TV screen.
Yeah, I mean, and you can have it, I mean, like they do on a lot of these game shows. All that is just TV screens which are so, you know, technology-wise, it's amazing. I mean, from the 90s, of course, we, you know, as I think I've intimated, I think in those days, from the 80s really onto the 90s, I didn't watch as much television as I would normally as I did as a teenager.
Far too busy having fun.
Far too busy having fun.
And read of that what you will, but
absolutely.
You know, it was, you know, we were growing up, we were teenagers.
Yeah, that's your camera over there. You can tell them directly.
Yeah, the 1990s is a bit of a blur, but I do remember some TV shows. I remember Bugs. I remember Bugs. I liked Bugs.
Yeah, I remember Bugs.
Bugs was done by the same guy who did the Avengers, I think, and it was like a kind of
Clements.
Brian Clemens, and I think it was almost like the last gasp of that kind of TV, as far as I was concerned. Because by that point, I was just heavily into watching all the old Avengers episodes and catching up with Adam Adamant and you know.
which
all that
slowly
stuff.
were becoming released
Yeah.
on VHS.
Oh,
and then, of course,
I dapped them up.
DVD then
DVDs.
came out.
Yeah.
And now you don't need either. Unless it hasn't been released, because the majority is either on Talking Pictures, it's all on streaming services all around the world, and all that. And the BBC should actually pull its finger out and change its subscription from a TV licence, because they do not provide the majority of television that in fact everyone else is watching.
I'm that close to actually cancelling my
I'm not going to say a word at this moment in time, but I leave that to your imagination. Yeah. But I mean, and of course now we're into the 21st century, century 21.
No one told me.
I
thought I'd lost some hair.
You know to say no.
Well,
after Marc and Chums 31, it all came off. I had it off, you know.
It's Grant, I'm Phil.
Yeah, right.
Alright?
Yeah.
Alright? You're going down the boozer later, Phil?
What's your pardon?
No, I'm Grant.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've lost track.
Phil was too low.
Yeah, I don't know. They talk like that in EastEnders.
They've made a good living out of it.
Yeah, they have.
They've made a good living out of it. I see a lot of those things, the continuing soaps that go on and on and on. I mean, it's just this year has been the 40th anniversary of EastEnders. And of course, EastEnders, I remember Julia Smith, who was also production associate on Doctor Who back in Troughton days.
She directed the Smugglers.
And all that, and also she did an awful lot, she produced an awful lot of other stuff, and of course, following in the steps, I think, of something like Verity Lambert, marvellously.
Oh, yeah.
And Tony Holland, of course, who created EastEnders, and they said, oh, it's not going to, we'll probably do a year. 40 years later, it's still on, like Coronation Street.
And you've got Ian Beale, who's the kind of like, you know, he's like...
The William Roach.
The William Roach of EastEnders,
Yeah.
He's been in it since the
first episode.
Yeah.
I mean, they have holidays, you know, suddenly they disappear. I mean, I remember once when Tracy Barlow went up the stairs and wasn't seen for about 3 years.
She went upstairs to play her tapes.
She went upstairs and she just disappeared for 3 years.
5 years later, she looked
came back with a completely different face.
Back from Scotland after 20 years without so much as a Scottish accent.
Well, where's that from, I wonder?
Yeah. Acorn Antiques, isn't it?
Acorn Antiques, yeah.
Oh, is it?
That's the stuff. That's the stuff, you know. Absolutely marvellous.
But I'll tell you one thing, Minnie Caldwell. You'll not be needing that milk stout.
That was another take on Coronation Street with the late Victoria Wood.
Bless her, yeah.
Julie Waters.
It's amazing what you can hear with your hairnet jammed against vestry wall if you listen hard enough.
You won't be wanting this, will
I love it.
I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
It really is. It is that the problem, I think, for us older types like myself and all that, because you're a bit younger than me, by 10 years, is that I'm so glad I've got those memories of those nostalgic moments, because they really are like a piece of elastic. You know, I mean, you didn't watch half of them, so you're just having the first crack of the whip.
Yes.
You know, but I can look at something and I'll go, oh yeah. I mean, recently I've been watching the reruns on whatever channel it is on the 360 TiVo box. You look at it and all that. I mean, like Star Trek, and they did 3 series of that. Very beautiful colour, lovely, good accent.
Lovely, yeah.
Some of it was a bit dark, and I'm looking at one and I'm going, did I ever see this episode?
Yeah.
Like the Avengers, all that. I can't.
There's so many. That's the thing.
You know, you think you've got them all compartmentalised up here.
Yeah. A lot of them blur though, don't they? They probably did for the cast as well. It's like, oh, I've got a rehearsal for this one, but we're still shooting that one. We're doing the filming for that one.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's how a lot of the stuff is done these days, isn't it? It really is quite a... I mean, you've done, I know, because I used to be your agent and cast in a few things over the years, and I often bang him the wink what's going on, you know what I mean? Well, this is right here, whatever. Which, you know, my attitude is always believe in someone and their capabilities, and that's how I cast people. And I'm not trying to lick, you know, favour with you, if you pardon the expression.
You can lick anything you like.
Yeah. But you've done several things, and one thing you haven't really done is like a serial, or serial, you know, one of those. You've done films and all sorts of business like that, and but that's something to aspire to, isn't it?
Well, it is.
If it comes up.
Yeah, so I'm perfectly available for casting and whatever serial's going that's any good, or even ones that need rescuing, I'll come in and rescue it.
Cheeky bugger.
Shooty, if you need a new companion, I'm there.
If he needs a new companion, I'll be there, darling. with my walking frame or not, I'll be there. Still, thank you again, Stuart. I think on this occasion we put the world to rights. It's interesting to find out that we basically have a similar attitude towards nostalgia of television. It is because I've missed or can't remember. I am actually re-nourishing myself with the fact of the stuff that I can't remember.
Yeah.
And you're in the green-fingered flight of youth, because you've never seen half of it.
Yeah. Thing is, though, with nostalgia, it ain't what it used to be, is it?
Thank you, Stuart, darling.
Thank you, darling.
I think.
God. I'm not picking your nose.
Yes. So on that note, Jess, thank you to the owners of this wonderful location. Mum's the word. And of course, we shall see you all very, very soon in the next episode. And thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen, my director. And over to you. Don't forget, watch the old stuff. You'll find out it's a bit better than the stuff that they pump out today.
Live long and prosper.
Hello there, yes, it's now the fun. I'll start that fucking again. Sorry. Right. I've got the gas. I really wanted to burst.
That's good timing. Oh, God help us. How's that?